Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to take a look at the comic books that I picked up last week. I didn't record a video for comics because of the holiday, Thanksgiving week, the kids were off of school, had some, just messed with the flow of a normal week. So didn't get a chance to sit down and talk about the comics that I read. But it was a pretty big week that I picked up a lot of stuff last week. So I've been eager to get a chance to talk about them. Now I am kind of getting over a little bit of a cold, so the voice is a little. But I was eager to sit down and talk about these before too much time had passed after reading them, and also I was excited to kind of play with the new toy, the microphone. So I'm not sure what the I'm not an audio professional, so I don't know like as far as positioning of the mic or whatever. So we're gonna play around with it. It might might move around for future videos, but whatever. It's kind of fun to play around with it. So anyway, so we'll start off with Knights vs. Samurai issue 3 came out, and this is written by David Dalsmalchian and art by Fede Mele. And now I feel like when this series came out, I was a little unfair in it because I think I wanted it to be more one note than it is, and I see now, once we're into issue 3, there's some kind of cool world building that's going on here. It's not as straightforward as just Knights versus Samurai, and that's what you get. Which you do get, but there's more to it, and yeah, I'm turning around on the series. I was a little low on it at first, but now we're settling into the story a little bit more, and I'm enjoying it. So, is it at the top of my pull list each week or each month when it comes out? Not necessarily, but it's a fun series that I'm having fun with. So we'll keep getting that one. Next up is let's do this one. So it's the Autumn Kingdom, issue 3. We're on issue 3, written by Cullen Bunn and art by Christopher Mitten. And now this series I enjoy the story that's being told. It's about two sisters looking for their parents who have been taken by these forces. They're learning about those forces, and it's the narrative is it goes between the narrative of the book that's being written by the father of the family, and the real world events of the sisters. And now, one thing I'll say about this issue is it feels like there was a bit of the best way I could say it is it feels like there was a montage that we missed. So it kind of jumps right into some action where, yes, the sisters are looking for their parents, but along the way they found this like mythical sword, and all of a sudden, it feels all of a sudden that in issue 3 they're just like badasses, and they're so good at wielding this sword. And I don't know if that's part of the story as far as this sword is specific to them or empowers them. So I don't know if it's tapped into that, but it just feels like where we are right now in this issue, it feels like they are too good of warriors all of a sudden in the story. Now, I still enjoy the story, and I'm curious to see where it's going from here. But that was like one little nitpick that I found that I was like, they seem really good at kicking ass. Not that they don't have those skills, but the way that the series started out, it was kind of unassuming. They were just like this family going on this mountain vacation, and then all of a sudden they're just like badass warriors. So, but we'll see. Maybe, like I said, maybe there's a specific story reason for that. But looking forward to it. So, next up we are going to we'll do this one. This was a closeout of an awesome series. I was looking forward to it, and then it delivered. It's Frankenstein, Skybound's Universal Monsters series, Frankenstein. So this was issue 4 of 4, written and drawn by Michael Walsh. And is it Tony Marie Griffin? I don't think I mentioned them before on colors. And colors are a big part of this story. It's it's coloring that you're not used to seeing in a Frankenstein story. I mean, some of it is. Some of it you see like greens and yellows, and I guess greens and yellows aren't necessarily story specific to Frankenstein, but they fit the muted kind of color palette of the story. This one is there's some tender moments in it with from the movie where Frankenstein is lakeside with that little girl. And that scene kind of it's the greens of the monsters, the yellow of the flower. Um, it's a sweet moment until it's not a sweet moment, and which is the same thing that happens in the movie. But yeah, I really love how this series just it was weaving its way through the original plot of the 1931 film, and which is an absolute all time favorite of mine, and I thought it did it. Sometimes when that happens, when they try to, you pigeonhole a comic into a story, into a movie, or whatever, to try to cram story where there isn't story. I think there was story here to be told, and that's what I think is really, really fun about this series. It talked about the, how Dr. Frankenstein, where he got the body parts from to make the creature, and the real world implications of where those body parts came from, the people impacted by those deaths and the theft of body parts, and it explores the whole who's the monster, who's the true monster of this story. It's very, very emotional, very tender. There's there is a sadness throughout this story, and I thought it was done beautifully. So yeah, I really recommend this one. It's easily my favorite of the Skybound Universal Monsters series they've done so far. They did the Dracula, which was really good. I did end up reading that at Halloween time. Enjoyed it. That does similarly weaves its way through the Dracula film, and kind of more sympathetic to the Renfield character, and that was good. I enjoyed Dracula, but I think this Frankenstein series does the mission of Dracula better than Dracula did. I feel like this weaved its way through the Frankenstein film more effectively than Dracula, because there were some parts in Dracula where it felt like you really should have seen the movie, because it referenced certain events that happened in the movie, and if you just read the comic, it's kind of like, what? So I feel like Frankenstein, while yes, it does make note to things that happen in the movie without specifically showing it, there's still enough plot elements in this series to hit those notes and propel the story in the comic forward. So I thought they just did it a little more. Michael Walsh did it a little more effectively, and loved it. And it could be, I'm partial to Frankenstein over Dracula. Maybe that was part of it, but I still love Dracula. But Frankenstein is my boy. I love that series of films. So, all right, next up, let's do this one. Let's do Void Rivals. So, Void Rivals issue 14 came out, and this is the second issue of the third story arc, and this is my experiment, or my not experiment, my first experience in reading the story month to month, and the first two volumes that I read in trade. Really enjoyed them, and I can see, when I talked about how if reading Void Rivals month to month, I might lose some of the story threads. I haven't lost them yet, because I just read maybe like a week and a half ago. Read the first volume in issue 13, so it hasn't been that long since I've read that, but there's a lot of story threads in this series. So you do touch on all the plot lines that are going on, but I do feel like it would be easy to get lost in the story. But there's some fun stuff. There's some good action in this comic. There's a very familiar Autobot that shows up in the story, which has been teased. So it's not like a huge surprise, but it's very cool to see this character involved. And yeah, it. I feel like Void Rivals is not the one that's going to deliver huge moments month to month, but it's going to tell a good story overall. And whereas Transformers and GI Joe are about the moments, and especially Transformers so far, um, it's like big action, and Void Rivals is a little more. It's subdued, but it's still telling a really interesting story, and I like that they complement themselves. The series complement each other effectively, so I really like that. Okay, so next up, let's do this one. This is a new series from Ghost Machine, and within Ghost Machine, they have another imprint, and it's called Family Odysseys. And this issue is called The Rocketfellers, written by Peter Tomasi, art by Francis Manapul, and this so this kind of speaks to, whereas so far the other series in the Ghost Machine are a little edgier. This is more. This is like their how do I want to say this? This feels like Ghost Machine's version of the family oriented story, but also targeted to various members of your own family. So it's more of an all ages approach to a story. So in vein to like Tomasi's work on like Super Sons and Batman, Superman, I feel like this is their answer to speak to fill that void for a comic that you could read with your kids. And it feels, I don't want to say this might sound dismissive, but I don't mean it that way. This feels like a TV series, like sitcom kind of approach to a superhero family. Now they're not really super heroic, but it's just in that vein of heroes adventure. At least I don't think they have super powers. There are some elements where there's like the grandpa is pretty strong. So I don't know if that's just he's just in great shape for but I don't know. I'm not. I may have missed some of that that implies powers, but I don't think I did. I think it just feels like a family that is. It starts off a lot of action in the beginning of the story, and it's this family like escaping from something, and then they are thrust back in time. So it picks up the story in present day, 2024. And so you have this time traveling family who is now in present day, and what's interesting is it starts off with a lot of action, and then once it jumps to present day, like the rest of the issue is like them hosting a barbecue for their neighbors. So it's a way to kind of introduce some of the other characters. It's just it's not the approach that I would expect from a comic. So that kind of threw me off a little bit, because it's like this family hosting a barbecue, talking to their neighbors, and there's some these are they're time displaced people, so they talk differently. They say certain things that their neighbors are confused by. But I enjoyed it. I think it's a good setup. There's I was a little confused towards the end of the issue. There's they show something that is like maybe like the reason why they're back in time, or why they had to go back in time. But I don't want to spoil what it is, but I know what it looks like. But I know what the thing looks like that they're talking about, but I have no idea necessarily why that matters. So, but point being, I'm interested. I would definitely read the second issue of this. So, I like that. And again, I want to support those kind of things, these type of initiatives of creators that I enjoy, telling new stories. That's where I've talked about it before. That's where the fun is for me in comics right now. So I will continue to do that. And along that lines, I do have another Ghost Machine comic that came out, and this is Hyde Street #2. This is written by Jeff Johns, art by Yvonne Reese, and inks are Danny Mickey. So great team, and I really like Hyde Street. I really like this series. It's horror, Twilight Zone. There's uh, still a mystery about kind of what's going on, but it's about these people who have died, and they are now being tasked to recruit or not recruit, but collect souls of people who are not good people. And this tells the story of the first issue. We were introduced to a character called Pranky, who is this this Boy Scout, and you learn more about Pranky in this issue. It's set largely in 1955. So you see Pranky as this Boy Scout. He kind of gets picked on, had a rough life, and you don't see how Pranky eventually dies and gets drafted into this whatever is going on, whoever is tasking them to collect these souls. But you do see him take on this police officer who, not a good dude. So it's creepy. It's there's a horror element to it, but damn, I love it. I think I'm hooked on this one for sure. So really enjoy this one. Have really enjoyed Redcoat. I need to read Rook Exodus and Geiger, and I'm waiting on the first volumes of both of those. Actually, I think the first volume of Geiger is out because it was like 6 issues a couple years ago, and then the current series is volume 2, I guess. But I should start with Geiger and then move on to Rook Exodus when that comes out. So, but yeah, I think I could be happy reading Skybound stuff and Ghost Machine stuff, and largely not much else. And I think I'd be happy in reading current comics. So, all right, so let's see, 2 more issues, 3 more comics. We'll start of the 2. We'll do this one. The Moon is Following Us. So this is issue 3. I got the Danny Warren Johnson cover, and I've already bagged this one up, but it's the Riley Rossmo cover. And yeah, so this series again continues to be very emotional, very impactful. I love what they're doing. Continued with the Danny Warren Johnson drawing the real world story elements, and then Riley Rossmo just going to town on the dream world. I don't want to give too much away because I just think it's a really good story. And it's probably one that I think it's a 9-issue series, so it's one that you could probably wait and read all together to really fully appreciate it. But there's some good moments. There's some really great action. This character, I forget his name, the toad looking character, just a damn cool design. And I really, really like the character, the design of that character. Some really good action. Yeah, this is just fun. It's just a really cool story. And again, it has the Daniel Warren Johnson heart. There's family elements involved. And that's I think guys my age, I think those are the things that we really enjoy. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but we have kids, we have families. Like we've done the big superhero stuff in comics. We've enjoyed those, but these are the stories that are really kind of resonating, and that's what I want in comics, and we're getting it here. So yeah, really some really touching moments in this one. Really, I love it. I love this series. I think it really the first issue was good. The second issue was, it complemented issue 1. You really needed the first 2 issues to get the full story. But then in issue 3, there's more story, which is great, which is what you expect. But at least the premise was set in issue 2, and then in issue 3 it goes in a little deeper. And yeah, really, really like this series. So, all right, then finally, save this one for last because I love this series. This has been a really nice surprise. I was late to jump on board, but now we're in issue 6, and I really, really love this series. It's Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, number 6. So, yeah, let's see. I always get the names wrong because they're like, yeah. I you'd think after what is this is maybe the 3rd or 4th time I'm talking about this series, You'd think I'd know their names, but I have a problem. It's Jerry Dugan and Gary Brown. Jerry Dugan is the writer. Gary Brown is on the art, and yeah, this is this kind of was like issue 6. It goes to the place where you're introduced to a how do I want to say this? So we've talked about it before, but the series is basically about a samurai and a gunslinger who are in this kind of purgatory limbo world where it's just all different types of warriors from different eras that populate this purgatory. So you're introduced to at the very beginning this Scottish warrior, and that's what when I first was reading the issues, I was like, this is a good concept because you could just bring in, there's the gunslinger, there's the samurai. You could bring in, whoever you want. Just a bunch of different historical eras, and that's what they're doing. They introduce this Scottish warrior who you see a flashback of his life and how he died, and you're just like, yeah, this guy's pretty awesome. So I love that. I love that you're seeing more of those type of characters that populate this world. So you're introduced to him, and then it cuts to the present day events, and he's now interacting with the other two main characters, which I forget their names again. Samurai and gunslinger. That's essentially. I should know names. I don't remember names. Whatever. It's the samurai woman and the gunslinger dude, and that in my brain, that's all they need to be, because it's not about their names. It's about the story being told. So, yeah. So they. What I really like about this issue specifically, so it's falling in love on the path to hell. They finally, they they have sex in this issue, and what I love about it is, it how do I want to say this? So they have sex in the issue, and it sets up that love in hell is a very, very disruptive and seemingly very powerful force. And I think that's awesome. Like, I think that's, amazing. I love that. I think that's a really cool concept. The art is amazing. Like I said, having the different historical type characters, having them interact. Yeah, love it. Really surprised by that series, but it kind of, when it comes out, it's like at the top of my pull list, unless it's on like a week with like Transformers or G.I. Joe. But yeah, this yeah, love that one. But yeah, that was all I picked up. I dropped off a couple things. I didn't pick up Spawn, although that's at issue 359. I dropped that off because I don't know. I love Brett Booth art. Love it, but it was not enough to carry the series. And what I'll probably revisit some of those maybe in trade or whatever, just to kind of to look at the art. But the story just wasn't grabbing me. But then after I dropped off issue 359, I saw that Todd McFarlane is jumping on board for issue 360. Now, to be fair, a Todd McFarlane written story is not like going to be, oh my gosh, now the story is going to be amazing, because that's not how Todd McFarlane writes. He writes to play to the strength of the artist, and that that may be enough to hook me back in, because it was the art that I was interested in to begin with. So it's very possible that I may quickly jump back on Spawn, just because more of what Todd will allow Brett to do, and what his story, the way he incorporates the artist into the storytelling. Because Todd just does really broad strokes in the story. It's like, let's get from point A to point B to point C, and you just, do the rest. And if that's the case, then I'll probably jump back on board. But yeah, so that's coming out. I think this week is this coming up week is a very light week. I think I was looking at the list. The only thing that I think I am going to pick up is Absolute Superman #2. Now, I Absolute Wonder Woman #2 came out, I think, last week, but I had a pretty big pull list, and I skipped that one. So it was kind of like a game time decision on how I was gonna approach the Absolute series. But then I found myself, it was on the shelf, it was there, and I was like, nah. So it was a good setup for a series. It's just in that moment, it didn't grab me. So I was like, I guess that's my sign. But Absolute Superman, it's what I'm looking forward to. I like the world that they're building there, and there's I have more questions that I want answered after reading Absolute Superman, where Absolute Wonder Woman didn't really make me ask too many questions. Absolute Batman is it's just like a visceral type of series. So, and I also think that Absolute, like, Batman is a more malleable character, so I feel like you could do a lot more with him and make it interesting. Whereas I just feel like, I don't know. And I could be proven wrong. Absolute Wonder Woman may be an amazing story once it's all said and done, as far as the first volume or whatever, and that'd be great. I'll be excited to read it if that's the case. But it just, I don't know. And also there's the loyalty that Scott Snyder has earned. I've enjoyed his work on Batman in the past. I've talked about that. So I feel like there's a lot of goodwill there that I'm willing to just go on this ride with him, and the art has been great too. So yeah, so that's Absolute Batman will be on the pull list, and I'll keep Absolute Superman on the pull list as well. So yeah, we'll see what else I pick up this week. Usually when there's like a low or a slow week like that, I'll probably pick up like a trade or something. I'll pick up a story, a book that I haven't read, and I'll scan the shelves and see what is there. So anyway, that's all for this week. Sorry, it was delayed, but I wanted to get to these before, like I said, before it was, before I forgot a lot more about the series. As it was, I had to go back and leaf through the comics again to see what I read. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this one, and I will see you soon.